See what you
But
got
I
on
need
your
to
desk.
check, and make sure that,
I didn't have anything edible over there.
Uh-oh.
I had a lot to eat lunch today, so I've got my weekends here. I always have to have something to munchy on.
having, check our volume, since we've been having some problems.
Afraid
I don't know. Just came in the mail.
Thanks for being here. I have to, since we changed it from easement, or chair from easement to traffic lane, I have to present a second offer. Just the same offer, it's just one instead of being right of it. So that's what this is. And then this is the agreement for the sign.
We're good on the volume and stuff, so we're good on our thing, so it's 10 now.
It's 10 o'clock over there.
Yep.
Okay. Betsy? I'll call the meeting to order and we'll recite the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good morning. So I think we let this lady go first. It's in our commission review and update period, but if you want to come up and introduce yourself.
Sure. Hello, my name is Connie Anguish with Kansas Department of Transportation Bureau of Right-of-Way, and I am here to get signatures for the permanent easement for the I-70 right-of-way that is being acquired for the expansion for the overpass on K-18. I have multiple pieces of paper here that will need to be signed. I've never done this, so I don't know if I just bring it around or pass it around or.
Yeah, we can just give it to one of us and we can pass
We
it down.
pass it around.
Okay, I'll go ahead and just start.
And Betsy, you signed off on all this, correct?
Yes, this first one is the civil rights format. It is for the federal government to make sure that KDOT is not discriminating against race, religion, or policy. You have the choice of filling out the box, or there's a line above it. If you just want to date it and hand it back, you do not have to fill it out if you don't wish to.
You want my name?
Nope, no signed signatures necessary. Let's see if you do definitely.
Oh, finance.
Just date it, you do not feel like filling in the box, just date it. 6/9. Thank you, sir. Thank you. The next page that we'll be signing is the disbursement of proceeds. It shows the cost per acre. Backwards in order. This shows the actual disbursement of how the money was broken out for the permanent easement, the fencing, and then the adjustment in the price per acres. Just pass through them.
Does this include the dedicated third lane as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. The second piece of paper that we'll be signing coming through is the actual contract. This is the actual contract that describes the land that will be acquired. in the contract. Betsy has a copy of all of this paperwork for your records also.
That part goes, that's my side.
Here's the,
Good to know.
is that what you're looking for? The
No,
book?
he was
Oh,
being nosy in my stuff.
oh.
This third document that you're signing is the actual easement deed that will be recorded. That's it. Thank you. And, again, Betsy, these are your copies for the DW.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, that's all I have. You can send me that WA when it's filled out, and I'll get the check. Fiscal year ended last week, so it's probably gonna be closer to the 1st of July before we can get that set. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thanks.
You have a wonderful day. Do you want me to leave this open?
Yes.
Teresa, did you send that email out with that survey information? Did I do that when I left here? Okay. I didn't get that.
What survey information?
I tried to compile, you know.
Oh, I didn't get
I
anything.
didn't.
What, okay, yeah. I tried to
You guys
compile what
already
we
had
had
the
with
survey,
data
don't
residue
you?
and sent it to her to send
Yeah.
I
out.
think I just sent it to the departments. I didn't know you wanted it again.
Well, I added the others on there.
Oh, you
And
did?
then,
Oh, okay.
I mean, there was
Remember
only,
getting it. Could you send it to me again?
there was only like 7 of them, you know, to be.
Yeah, right. Okay, I'll send that.
Just reminded me, you need to do this, but okay, this isn't that, though. This is a budget request.
Yeah, it's just letter of support for the historical society.
Okay. I don't know at what point we're gonna stop, but I've got what we got in there as best we can, as I could, so. I didn't know if we, you wanted to look over it since budget time, and when we come, I don't think there's any really surprises on that anyway.
So, does anybody have anything to report?
I went to the Flint Hills Community Connection luncheon for Stormontville last Wednesday or Thursday, and it was a nice, informative luncheon, and talked about a lot about the things that's going on there and the improvements and everything else. So it was impressive, and I was glad to see all the things that are going on and the more doctors that they have up there. So I think that's just a good thing to have for the community at this time.
Good turnout.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised.
Yeah, that's really all that I attended.
I also attended that, the luncheon, and I could not ask for a better outcome with Stormont being here. I mean, they have went above and beyond our expectations, and you know, to think that we could have lost our hospital or just been a clinic with an ER. You know, they reported they average about 20 babies a month, and didn't they say 35 or 45? 35 babies next month they're expecting, so that's huge, but they now have actually 4 providers, being able to deliver babies, so that will help out a lot, because even Tracy said for as many years, she doesn't know how Dr. Corey and Tara handled all of that by themselves. So we're very blessed to have such dedicated providers in our community. So I just can't say enough good things about Stormont-Vail and what they've brought to our community. There was a DSIP meeting that basically they just talked about where they are in the process. The notice of funding came out. The application for the DSIP grant is due the first week in July. Things look really good on where they are in the process of getting everything done. They just need to, and Rob Wilson, the MAC director, I cannot tell you how much background, he's been doing in the work in the background. I mean, he's just been really working it and making contacts and ensuring that everything is done correctly. So I give him kudos on that. So I think that's all I had. It was a pretty light week for me compared to normal. So yep, that was it.
Well, I didn't have anything because one of my meetings is postponed to this week, so I really didn't have anything. Yeah, Rob has really done his homework and working hard, and I think he picked up a lot of information last year at AUSA, and I think we're ahead of a lot of people.
Yes, and the only one in Kansas that's putting in for it, so that's a good sign, so. And make sure that they know we are a defense community. We've been designated as a American defense community, so I think that's a plus.
How many's on that committee?
How many's on the committee? There's a working committee with like the people that are actually writing the grant, and then those are probably 5 or 6, but then they're probably double that, with Fort Riley coming and giving some information, and they've been very supportive too. I mean, they're kind of limited on what they can do, but they've been extremely supportive, but Rob's been the go-to for sure, so. Yeah. Hi, Crystal.
Betsy, you have anything?
No.
Oh, somebody reached out to me and wanted to know whether there was a date set yet for the tax sale.
There isn't, I think that I plan to get the amended petition filed this week, and that's gonna start the notice period. So I don't think we're gonna, make the floor fair, but I think we'll make the summer still.
Make it what?
We're still gonna, my plan's still to have it this summer, I just don't think we're gonna make it prior to the fair.
Yeah.
But, prior to Labor Day, it's still my goal.
Okay. Then it has to be.
We've collected quite a few back taxes from Indigo there for quite a few people to pay.
So it's dwindling the number.
Sales getting a little smaller as we go.
Well, that's always a good thing.
Unfortunate, it has to come to that to get them to pay. Crystal, you ready?
Morning, Commission. Crystal Malchos, HR Director. Start with just a couple out-of-office notifications. Also note that Travis Lilly will be out at least this morning, maybe all day for a last-minute issue with the family. But he is aware of the reappointment being this morning, and he did say to let you know that if you do choose to reappoint him, he will gladly accept.
Well, that's good to hear.
I
Imagine
asked him if he
that.
wanted to postpone it or just go ahead and proceed. He said just to let you know that he'd be happy to accept the reappointment.
And he's also on for his budget too. So is he gonna have to reschedule that?
I think that he was gonna speak with Vanessa.
Oh, okay, good.
So I'll verify that and if otherwise we'll let you know that we'll need to change that. But otherwise, I don't have much else going on this week. I looked and had an employee investigation last week that was finalized on Wednesday. And then we had a couple new hires at the sheriff's office, which is really good. Their turnover is decreasing. So that's a positive thing. And getting better applicants, I think, in my opinion. I think that the sheriff will be in later and he can let you know whether or not I'm seeing the same thing he is. But we do have our task force meeting on Wednesday. Ms. Tremont is scheduled to be there. I hope to get the agenda out today. And then Tammy and I will be out Thursday for the Next Tech training in Salina. And then a number of our employees will be out at the supervisory training in Salina as well. So that's a good thing for all of us. And then that's all I have for this week. Any questions?
Wow. Are you gonna be here when Charles comes in,
Yes,
non-elected person?
yes. I know what that's regarding, so I'll be able to provide additional information if necessary for that. And then this afternoon, I do have interviews with Jeremy for their positions over there. So give him some help, we hope soon.
Yeah, I hope so. I think you're gonna have, I think one good applicant that I know of reached out and asked about it.
Yeah, we had one, but there may be nepotism issues, so I'll be reaching out to them to find out how they want to handle that.
Yeah.
All right, that's all I have.
Are you gonna be back for the reappointment?
Yes, I'll be back 11:15 for that too.
Okay.
I try to make myself totally available on Mondays when you guys are here, so. All right, you know where to find me if you have any other questions.
All right, thanks.
Are you happy, Teresa? No surprise executive
Good
session.
job, Tiffany, or I'm writing Tiffany. Good job, Crystal.
Keith, did you answer the email that was sent to all three of us about funding? You answered, okay. I figured you did, so I didn't.
I was first notified by the fire chief. And then I talked to,
Well, I saw that because she talked at the city meeting too.
and so when Nate sent out that email and I called him and we had a good discussion and. he-
No, I'm talking about a different email. You're talking about the grant email?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay.
Oh, well.
Okay, go ahead and finish that. I just
Well,
want to make sure we're talking about the same
Yeah,
thing.
Club, Saturday, June 7th it came.
Hmm?
It came on June 7th.
The one I'm talking about is the funding for the food insecurity
oh,
program.
yeah. I did not reach out because they've not really requested anything. They just went to the city.
And they requested $100,000 from us in the email.
Wanting to have it come in to get on the agenda is what she wanted, I believe.
I missed it.
But she's been told how to,
Has she been here?
Mhm.
Okay, she's been in here, okay.
Yeah.
That's what I just
No.
seen part of the city meeting, or, listened to it,
Mhm.
and I thought,
You said June 7th?
It was Saturday morning was when I got it. All three of us were on there. That's why I didn't know if you answered her or not. She wanted to come to this meeting and since you're the chair, I figured you would answer. Okay, so go back to the grant thing, with the fire chief.
Okay, so he reached out first. And then Nate sent out email to all three of us, okay? And so I talked to Jason on the phone, and then I talked to Nate on the phone, and I talked to Gary on the phone. So Nate said that he would discuss that during his time period today, and that he was gonna reach out to Jason and Gary and see if they could come as well. I guess they've been having meetings because of the funding issue and how to fund it. So
And why isn't our finance and the city finance involved in those?
they're preliminary right now. from what I was told.
And why does he think we need to pay 2/3 of that?
Jason does,
I know.
but the others, no.
Okay.
They want it shared between
Well, it should be between everybody.
4 entities.
Well, and even possibly, I mean, yeah, that, I think that those kind of things, I think should go by population.
Mhm.
You know, Grandview,
So-
us.
I think he's broke out, him
Oh, okay, so
I mean,
they've addressed that,
and
okay.
during their little powwow.
I think it's very needed, because I guarantee you, I know for a fact on Golden Belt, it is very hard. If you're at the Golden Belt Apartments, to talk on the radio. And I can't imagine how many dead spots are in the county too.
And in buildings.
Yeah, and in buildings, yeah, even the police department.
So, yeah, I think they've got a idea what they want to do with funding.
But I also feel that, well, we can talk about it too, but, 911 board needs to figure out what they're doing. I mean, they need to dissolve and restructure and have all of finance, both our finance and actually people from Grandview and Milford and us, and have their finances, all together. I mean, they should not be doing any grant applying until they talk to them.
Well, I think he's going to give you the preliminary concept.
Because the way that the email sounded, they wanted the decision today.
Yeah.
And I don't,
I wanted.
and I do not think that we're at that point right now.
Well, like you said, finance on both sides of the city and county haven't been
Exactly,
involved.
that's my point.
So, anyway, he said he doesn't have hardly anything to report, so he wanted to talk about this.
Okay. Hi, Tammy.
Hi. How you doing?
Good, and you?
I'm doing well.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tammy Robinson, Finance Director. I don't really have too much this morning. Last week, you had approved an amendment to the Pinal Building concrete replacement project with Jeremy in Public Works. And so I did bring that sheet for you guys to go ahead and sign. There's no action other than to just sign. And I do not have financials. I would expect to have them next week, but with the issues that we've encountered with the tax side of the software, it affects everything. So we can't close out the month of May until we get all of that done. So CIC had reached out to Sherry's office last week. They got that rectified, but we had the whole week, the whole last week of May to reconcile. So we're working on that. So it's just a little bit delayed. We had sent an email out, and I think you guys probably saw that from Jamie to let you know that it was delayed. But we do expect to get that done here shortly and get that information out. So I should be able to have those documents next week to you.
Sherry also sent us a thing saying that they're trying to get caught up on that since they got
Yeah.
the thing.
Yep. Yes. Yep, I think they're working hard on doing that, and everybody was super excited. We were able to. We got the 23rd and the 27th last Friday, so we just have these last 3 days to finish up in May, and then we should be good, so.
So moving forward, the CIC, I mean, are we on track or we good?
Well, I mean, you never know. I mean, there's always things, anytime you have technology, that you can have something happen, right? And Sherry's probably much more or better versed to discuss it than I am. The part that I know is that CIC is going to work with them because they have a couple other really big distributions to import in. And they're going to watch it all the way through and see on the backside what it does to try to prevent this duplication that occurred when they imported it the last time. And so hopefully, since they're aware of what's happening, they can be proactive and prevent it going forward or figure out how to fix it by
What-
seeing it,
I
so.
think one of the things in the email that Janice sent out, that the main thing is, if we're not balancing, do not move forward.
But she
until we
was
figured it out.
balancing, and that's the thing,
Oh, she was balancing.
they were on the phone with Lisa the last time when they imported, and so they actually had it balanced.
And it still had
So
the
when it came
issue.
across, something happened in
To
the
add the-
import that it
Did they help
duplicated.
with that, to do that?
Yeah, Lisa was on the
So
phone with
that's-
Janice for like 4
Yeah,
hours,
that's-
because they didn't wanna
Yeah.
do it themselves.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
she,
Yeah,
and then this happened, and they really didn't know why.
right. So I mean, there could be something with
So
the
they're hoping,
programming.
Sherry's hoping when they do another one, that
Right.
it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, so they're having the programming watch it as it goes through so they can see if it happens.
Yeah, I didn't
um,
realize that they had balanced and it still did it.
Right, and then there was something weird with the specials, so once they got that piece fixed, then something happened with the specials that they also had to correct that Sherry had identified, and so once they got those two things fixed, they've been able to move forward.
That's why the realtors and title companies are so upset with all that, because all those monies that Sherry's unable to pull for Logic or Loretta. I know one instance where the seller is, they couldn't close the seller, they couldn't get their $3,000 back because they couldn't do anything. And when it comes to that, you got family, it's not $1 million, it's $3,000, but when you got a family and small kids, and you want your money back,
Well,
and when you're
$3,000 is a lot
yeah,
of
when
money.
you can't, that stuff like that's irritating. And, I just shake my head because I don't get it. I get it, but I don't get it. But I hope that it gets better.
Well, I mean, I think there are a lot of things that are already better. For instance, Linda did her distributions and that worked perfect to the T, not one issue. And so that's great. And she worked with Dickinson County and walked through it again. And she just, every time she does it, it just gets a little easier. So there are things, and whether it's that training piece or whatever that we have, that we just didn't have enough training to get us where we needed to, we're working towards that. So
Someone's
there are,
going to
there are
the
bright
user group,
spots.
right?
And there's 3 from our office.
Good.
So that's where we are, but we start the sessions at 2:00 today. And it sounds like Vanessa might be presenting for Travis today. Other than that, it doesn't look like should be any adjustments on the schedule. So I will come back over here when the sheriff comes to discuss that grant. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Oh, so are you gonna answer Martine? I mean, she's been told how to properly, because honestly, our 25 budget set, our 2026 budget, we've already have the times passed, and she's been told how to ask for money or get on there, so.
Yeah, it must,
I just don't want to not answer, I just want to make sure one of us answers.
okay. It must be on my Surface Pro, it's not on my phone.
Huh.
And I'm gonna miss it.
And I would
What was
see,
her name?
Mark, it's right, you want me to forward it to you?
Yeah,
I went and got my card for Fort Riley, those.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Was it easy?
Yeah, very easy. I should have done it before. I didn't want to take the time to do it. Yeah, I didn't even know the name of that, whatever that was, actually. I think it's cleared off here. Which one? I don't know, I think I told you my friend from Brush County too. But I don't think that some of those issues are being resolved at CIC. Where's my jacket? Now I'm getting cold. But I'm okay.
Okay. You ought to just leave one in.
I actually went back at my house to get a jacket to leave here, and I forgot. I went in and did something else and forgot. So Teresa, who provides the internet over here? Is it, right? Twin
In
Valley?
this building? Twin Valley.
Twin Valley.
Betsy, do you get these?
I have not looked at those ones yet. Thank you.
Oh, uh-huh. That sounds good.
So that's a voice message this time.
Yeah. Yeah, live in the neighborhood.
I kind of like how they did it.
Okay.
Right.
Or be prepared now for the next one.
Hi there.
Good morning. Is Gary coming?
He said he is.
Did y'all have a good weekend?
I did. I mean, this.
They're busy.
Softball.
Baseball. I was in Kansas City all weekend, long day, did not get until like 9 p.m.
Yeah, softball tonight. Harrington.
No Harrington, which I believe that's true. Our, so we have league until about 12, and like 13 and all. Apparently they don't have league. So
No.
they have to travel, work in the city. So I'm thinking about next year 14, actually coaching, I'll just call the coach. Hey, she's crazy. That's no matters or something. But it gets expensive.
Yeah, that's the alley. We tried to travel to.
All right. I like it because your weekend's right next one. Lions, Ireland, and June.
ball shop every single week.
Hello. How's it going?
Hello. Great, going great. You got the assessors here.
Yeah.
Leah,
I'll be there tomorrow.
on site, tomorrow.
Wish you the best.
Thank you. Morning, Gary.
Yeah, whenever you're ready.
Well, if you guys are ready, I'm ready. We will rock and roll because I will take a few minutes during the bi-weekly, and then Gary and the chief here will come up with me and we'll talk about some grant process. All right, we'll cover the last 2 weeks. Go ahead and start off with the average KDP, daily jail population for the last 2 weeks. It was 92 and a half. We did average of 3 prisoner transports. Sorry about that. 8 total accidents, 223 traffic stops, 61 citations, 2 theft and burglaries, 119 civil papers served, 60 times we assisted outside agencies. We had 2 domestic incidents, 5 DUIs, 5 drug investigations, 2 batteries and assaults. We had 0 criminal damage to properties in the last 2 weeks, 1 motor vehicle theft, no weapon violations, and we had a total of 29 arrests in those 2 weeks. Any questions about the last 2 weeks?
No, but good job on your bus last week. That was pretty impressive.
It's good to be lucky. Good to be lucky. Well, no other questions on the numbers. I'll ask Gary and Jason to join me up here if they would like. And I think Chief Lankus is going to kind of talk about a proposal for grants, and he's actually done it already, but I don't want to get into the details. I don't want to steal his thunder, so I'll let him explain that. So,
Is that okay? That we can do that? I know you got to do your budget stuff and can we chat?
Well, I mean, I think it's something, I think it's a good idea. I just want to make sure we're doing it correctly.
Correct, yes, yes. So we were back last year,
Before you start, is this through the 911 board or is it through the city?
it's both. It's
Okay.
kind of everybody. I know, when I talk about this is direct, congressional direct spending. So we got a card from Petty, the director, for Moran's office to say, hey, there's additional money sometimes that senators can give out to municipalities that have communication problems or whatever. I mean, everything from Harrington clear to USD 475, other people request all this funding from the state that they got money to reserve to give to people. So that card was put on the desk. I go, when's the application? It's tricky because if the application doesn't come up, you got to kind of request it. They send you the application from their office to start to fill out. Well, the time window is very short on this. So we requested to send it, got letters of support from everybody, Geary County, everybody, PD, rural, fire, and everything. And we put in, I got quotes for the tower. The tower people got me quotes back. There's over 1 million and 1.6 million. This is to put up a new tower. This is off the information we got from the COW, the communication on wheels that we had put out. You heard about that on Jay Hill Road. This is a total new tower for everybody involved because we are lacking communications with police and fire on everything going into buildings. Anything that's a metal building is a safety factor. We cannot get in, talk to each other unless it's direct line of sight. And that's where UHF came in handy. We kept it. That's a smart thing we did. This 800 cannot penetrate buildings. So that's where we're having trouble. Even with the county on patrol cars, clear out 177 south of here. They're having trouble getting. Manhattan has about 3 towers. We have 1 tower for 800 system. We need more tower. So this is a critical. We've talked to 911 board and said, listen, if anything happens, I go, well, there's a congressional direct spending grant that we can supposedly get on. So we applied for it. We got denied. We think it's because of language. So me and Gary got a communication talk with her as soon as they cut back with us on Washington, D.C. I think they think we have an EOC building going up on J Hill Road. That's not the case. The building we're referring to is a building that the communication equipment will be held in. So that's like a 10 by 16 little tiny building compared to what we think. If not, we'll redo this again. We'll get our heads together to apply for this grant again. So the 1.6 million, our shares, we didn't know about this either, the 25% share. So stuff's coming in like, all right, we didn't hear about this because the grant's really not specific. They get 3 sheets. This is what you have to go off. So I talked with Caitlin at the DC and said, this is what the information we talked about. And she sent us an email the other day and said on Friday, late Friday, that we were denied. So just to get you guys a heads up, we need to go forward with, this is huge. This is critical and this is huge. Geary got up some cost shares and everything that I think he might be able to handle them out. But with the funding, we talked with Sheriff as well, Geary County 40% funding, Junction City 40%, Grandview 15%, and Milford 5% is what we're thinking. We're going to go to the 911 board meeting this week and talk about this as well. But if it doesn't get funded, there's the other side too of how much this will cost.
Has Jamel been going to the 911 meetings?
We haven't, no,
One time he
One time.
did.
Because Tammy and Jamel need to be involved in this. I mean, and I know I'm not attacking you,
Sure.
but that 911 board has made some terrible, terrible financial mistakes. And having professionals in there that actually, and have you guys thought about, making it to where we could rent out like they did in Manhattan, to where they have income coming in to help sustain the tower?
No, we have not.
So that was another idea we brought up too. I mean, and that's why, Tammy was involved in doing something exactly like this. And Riley County actually went out and who did they rent from? Who did they rent it to?
Like Evergy's one.
Evergy. I mean, those are just the different things that, a financial person can look and bring ideas. I mean, they should be, both Jamel and Tammy should be involved in all of your 911 work, especially from just, I know it wasn't you, but,
Right.
I just am so frustrated that we got a variable loan on such a huge amount and now we're paying out the butt for that. And
I
then
think-
also,
I think moving forward, Trish, we're gonna get together more often,
Okay,
include
good.
those individuals you're speaking of, and get creative on some ideas.
yes, and that's all, having, people that have financial backgrounds. You're a firefighter, you know everything about firefighting. Tammy and Jamel are both professional, finance people. And so just, especially with some of the mistakes we have made, they need to be involved in all of these decisions. And there might be something that we can offset some of that money with renting it out, because, it might be something that we can do. I think that's something
That renting, I'm not a fan of, because then it puts another system on theirs, and the same thing, you call trunking, where a call comes in and does not go through dispatch. We do not want that. We want our own, we need our own tower. And we did cut, it was 1.6 to begin with, me and Gary cut it down to 1.1 billion. So, and that's what we'll request next time, is the 1.1. Because we've talked to Jail Hill Road, so communication up there, I think, that owns the tower up there, Bell Taxi and Montgomery Communications on this little spot. And we asked them if we could use their building, stuff like that. So that's how it's gotten cheaper, like reaching out to them on the property they already have a tower. They just don't have a tall enough tower, is what we're getting at. They have a 120 footer.
so it would not be our tower then,
Well,
Are
we're
they gonna be
going
able
with
to
them.
use it?
Well, we're still in the communication
Yes.
part with them. We're just in the initial part. They
Okay.
said, yeah, we could rent their tower from them. We haven't talked to them if we put up a new tower, if we own it or whatever. We could started this.
Well, then I think legal should be involved in that as
Yeah.
well.
Right,
Once,
yes.
once we start
That's on here,
talking
too.
more to Pewits and stuff, we will.
Yeah,
There's
just
so
need to
many
make sure all-
steps involved here
Yes.
that we just want to bring it to your guys' attention, because when it happens fast.
Yes.
It doesn't mean we rush it, but we got to get on it quickly.
no, I
And in the
agree.
past, previous, these grants would be 100% funded. It is very common now that they require local matching.
And if we check to see if we can use that second tranche of money that's for any of the second, there's two, you guys have two accounts on the 911 board.
Right.
That first amount, that is very strict on what you can and can't use it for. Have we looked to see if any of those?
We would be able to use on some of that, yes. But it's only up to what, 200,000 or something, so yeah.
Well, why couldn't we use that for the match? To cut
Um,
down the match to each of the entities.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Okay. I didn't know that because I knew we have money in there and I know it's very strict on what you can and can't use it for. So you might as well use it for something that's gonna help us.
Well, we're gonna need that money towards the end of the year, right? Or not?
No, we already paid 38,000 out of there, which is what would have got you down to that 2,000. So you might have around 40 at the end of the year, but that's about it.
Okay.
The biggest reason we're bringing this to you guys now is because when these grants open, within 60 days, you gotta
Yes,
hustle.
no, I agree.
And so we want to make sure when the next one opens, because we've been denied for this one unless they can sweet talk to people and let them understand it's not a whole big old EOC. I would assume we will prepare for the next one. That way we can move efficiently next go around.
Do you know how often they come along?
Yeah, every year there's grant, because this one, they even said, well, we didn't give it to the 2025 4 people enough last time. So it said it's a slim chance even more, but we got a phone call last weekend from the state up there, and she was asking questions, which I go, this is probably a good thing, that they're asking questions about us. So that's when we started to just say, all right, we'll do this, this, and this, but, so they got to fund the last year's people as well. So it was a slim picking, but they said, go ahead and put in.
So when you're looking at radio costs, instead of doing 40, 40, 15, 15, why are we not taking the entities, looking at how many radios they have, and then taking the percentage based on the radios being used? So if the sheriff's office has 100 radios, they would pay whatever ratio they are to the overall total radios.
Well, a lot of it is, a lot of my guys have radios, but they only use it once a month.
But you still have a radio and it's still a part of that cost. So to divide it, I think the most evenly would be to determine who has the radios and allocate those costs to those actual specific departments or units rather than.
So we have radios that sit on like rescue that doesn't go out maybe twice a year kind of deal.
But it's
So,
still a radio you own that is.
but I get too, but we're talking about a frequency that helps them and Milford and Grandview out. A
I know.
frequency that
And to
meets-
be clear, we have brainstormed different ideas. We
Usage.
just didn't throw out these numbers. We said, what does it look like for employees? What does it look like for radios? We tried every single idea and we thought this might be the best option as a starting point. We can move it around, we can change it, but this is just a starting point because we need to be ready for the next go around.
Well, this is what we did in Riley, and that kept them from having their 911 go broke, basically, by allocating those costs. So, I mean, I don't know what we're gonna do going forward with 911, but that may be something to at least look at.
And I understand your concern as far as sharing the tower, but if it's something that's gonna make it monetarily feasible, I think we should keep our minds open on that too, you know what I mean? Just because, I mean, this is a lot of money, I mean,
It is.
and we don't have that in our budget right now. When would we need the money?
Yeah, we did get that second part.
And you get too many antennas on that tower, and then you're gonna get bleed over from different ones, and so you gotta be careful about who you let onto the tower.
I agree.
And how many you
I'm not
put up
saying,
there.
I'm not saying don't do your due diligence on that, but I think it should be an option.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, the safety, their staff, our staff is, you guys know that's number one.
For sure.
Our radios go red screen, and that is not good. That means direct line of sight with our guys crawling or those guys making entry into a building. We need
In the school district, they got radios too, don't they?
KDOT uses it as well, but yes.
What do you mean?
KDOT is the 800 the state system, so they'd use it too. But we can't ask for money from them.
So we already done the testing to make sure that that would cover all these dead spots, or,
The tower was set up on J Hill Road, yes.
Last October, we did it.
so then, once you put that tower up, then what's the percentage of dead spots? Because there's still gonna be some, so.
True, further out, yes. like I said, that Manhattan has 3 or 4 alone towers put up. and we don't have one.
We're a third of the size of Manhattan,
Yeah, but-
Riley County.
I know, but you're telling him he can't get service clear out there?
No,
on
I'm just saying,
77?
no, I'm just saying,
Oh, I
I don't think we need 3.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Just because, Riley County's twice,
they're
maybe
wonky
3.
shaped as well. They're
Yeah.
correct.
And I'm sure there's places on the lake that don't get any radio, you know.
So the cow was set up, communication on wheels was set up, and that dramatically increased a lot of services in areas.
But do you have like a percentage or?
The test, yeah, sure,
ran-
that
we
was
ran-
dispatch. We ran all day with radio comms in each building. We would key up and test it, so. She has a sheet, but I don't think she did percentage.
We did both in town, we did Granby Plaza, we did the outside in the county area too, seeing where we had dead spots at and stuff. And
Yeah.
We've got that available.
Did it help the buildings? Because I know
Yes,
in Riley, there were still buildings that didn't matter what they did, they were still
it
dead.
did increase the service inside the buildings. Like Tractor Supply, metal building, that guys could talk.
Well, but you can't even do it in the police department. I mean,
Can't do it in the SO either.
yeah.
But they could when that cow was
Yes.
up.
Oh, they could?
Yes, there were in some areas,
Yeah,
you know.
currently
What
we
about
cannot.
Golden Belt? That was always a
Yep, that worked too.
good.
So just to make, you guys aware that this is, I know I wasn't on the beginning of the radio and that's previous stuff or whatever happened. That tower probably should have never came. It's a 120-foot Ash Street tower. The tower next to it is T-Mobile or Verizon or whatever. That's a 400-foot tower. We probably should have thought about that. But anyway, this is a tower. It's over there. It's going to be 200 to 128-foot tower that's up there now. It's probably good, but I would like the 200 and it's just getting service available to us guys.
Well, and that's a high point. And
It is. Yep. So,
Okay.
any more questions?
Keep brainstorming.
Yeah.
Keep applying, right?
And keep applying.
This is just an application process. So.
I just want to make sure we have all our i's dotted
Are-
and t's crossed.
Yeah. Are you gonna reach back out to Reed and see?
Yes, I have. I left an email and a voice message for
Okay.
the gal I was talking to.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you all.
It is important.
We rescheduled for Friday,
Okay,
because I got that town on Thursday.
okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Hello.
Hey, good morning.
So I'm gonna give you guys some handouts because I didn't email them to Teresa in time, sorry. Okay, so my name is Raquel Cinco, I'm the CVB director, and I'm here to discuss Kansas State Fair participation. I'm gonna basically read over what I just handed to you. So dates for the State Fair, September 5th through the 14th, plus a day before and a day after for setup and breakdown. Estimated cost is at minimum about $11,000. That is only including 2 hotel rooms. So usually I think the CVB does offer hotel rooms to volunteers that come out and work more than a certain amount of hours. While the Kansas State Fair is a well-attended event with potential for exposure, the cost-benefit analysis for Geary County CVB's participation in 2025 does not support a favorable return on investment. Given current staffing levels, timing, and budget constraints, participation would strain resources and reduce the CVB's availability to serve local stakeholders effectively during a critical tourism season. Key considerations, number 1, high financial cost. Estimated $11,000 minimum investment includes booth fees, travel, lodging, materials, and staffing. These funds could be redirected towards targeting digital marketing, regional partnerships, or local event sport sponsorships with a more measurable ROI. Staffing limitations with a new marketing specialist and only 1 admin that would be remaining in the office. Participation would leave the CVB severely understaffed for nearly 2 weeks. This would impact on daily operations, visitor services, and responsiveness to community and partner needs. Timing challenges, the fair overlaps with the Labor Day weekend and early fall, which is a peak tourism season here in Geary County. Also, the K-State game versus the Army, which is not the home opener, that it's the second game. Absence from the office during this time could result in missed opportunities to engage with visitors and support local events. Uncertain ROI or return on investment. While the fair draws a large crowd, it is not a targeted audience. Many attendees may not be actively planning to travel or interested in Geary County specifically. Without a robust follow-up strategy and staff to implement it, lead convergence from the fair is likely to be low. On the back, there's alternative recommendations. I've been kicking around the idea of digital campaigns. So using that money to run a geo-targeted digital campaign for Geary County to audiences actively searching to travel, specifically I've been thinking about doing it for K-State opponent team sites or team cities, to enhance local presence, sponsor or host events within the county during the same time frame to engage residents and visitors directly, strengthen regional collaborations, partner with nearby CVBs or other tourism alliances to share resources and amplify reach without overextending staff. In conclusion, while the state fair offers visibility, the timing, cost, and staffing constraints makes it an impractical option for 2025. A more strategic use of resources will allow the CVB to maintain high-quality service, support local tourism, and pursue marketing efforts with a clear return on investment. We have the opportunity to participate still at the state fair during Kansas Days with the North Central Kansas group, and that is at a cost of $200. And we'd only need one sleeping room for 2 nights, which could be covered by just sending one staff member instead of at least the 2. We would also be able to get datafy information on the true impact of attending in years past versus not attending fully for 2025. I ask that you consider allowing me to cancel the current contract at a cost of $100 administrative fee. I did also send an email and ask if that $100 could be transferred over to the Kansas weekend, Kansas Day week, or whatever it's called. And I'm waiting on a response from that. So if we cannot, then we would then still pay that $100 cancellation fee and then the additional $200 to participate. And if you guys opted not to, for the CVB to participate with North Central Kansas, we do have the option of having our own booth solely as Geary County and not encompassing it with North Central Kansas. So that's what I got.
Thoughts on that?
Well, I understand with what you're saying. If you don't think we're getting the benefit from, being there for that number of days and that cost, and it sounds like that you, the opportunity to just participate in Kansas Days, I like that idea too, to where you're focusing specifically on that.
I'm sad.
I know, and I knew you would be. I knew you would be. And
Well,
so,
not just because of that. I do think we do get some exposure, but I also know how taxing it is with limited staff that you have, and because you have to be there. It's not like you could set up a thing. So I totally understand that. I've always wondered why we're paying for 2 booths anyway. I think we just need one if we ever start doing that again.
And I agree with that. I think a 10 by 10 is just fine.
Yes.
Especially for our entity. Most of the stuff that we have is like
Can fit in there.
is a 10 by 10 setup. So that's something else that we're looking at getting refreshed, is getting newer backdrops and stuff. So that's a conversation for another time. But yeah, so my ask is that we still participate just on the Kansas days. And then we would then be able to have some actual data on the difference between doing the full 2 weeks or 14 days or whatever it is versus just the 2 days. And then we would be able to do the geofencing, all that stuff. And then I can come back and if it does make a difference and spending, at least this 11 grand makes it worth it, then we'll do it again in 2026. And they did say that we are more than welcome to, apply for 2026. And so it's not like we're going to get blacklisted and ousted for not doing it. We do have to make a decision though by July 1st in order to only do the $100 cancellation and not, I think it's like a 45% penalty if we wait after that.
I think you've done your homework and checked with all the, avenues of trying something different and the cost, reducing that cost. I think that I would move to accept her proposal of canceling the current contract at $100 and participating in the Kansas days.
Okay.
And see how that goes. And then maybe, if we can also get back in it, then that
Right.
opportunity to come up again.
Right.
That would be my motion.
I'll second that, but I do want, I think that the state fair, I think is probably, if it wasn't taking up so much of your staff's time, I think it is worth it to be there because I think we get more exposure for people that will have more apt to come to our community than when we go to Denver or Dallas.
Got it.
You know what I'm saying? Because when I've worked the last 3 years and a lot of people didn't know about our lake or Acorns Resort or all the historical stuff, in our community. And so getting that word out there, I think is worth it. But I definitely know that it would be too taxing with as limited staff as you have. So I'll go ahead and second that.
Okay. I got a question. Well, I think for this year, that's fine. I don't want to pull the plug completely, in the future. But my question is, what do you think of Datify? I've never been really impressed.
So I know that there are several other entities that are using a different company called Placer AI. As a matter of fact, I have a meeting scheduled with them later this week. So Datify, from my understanding, was specifically made for the tourism market, and Placer AI was not. So I think those two things have a lot to do with which one we go. I think it's essential for the CVB to have some sort of data tracking, a geofencing record, like be able to get this stuff. I also think that, and I don't know if this is 100% accurate, but I think the city has Placer AI, so they share their account with like Main Street and other entities. I did talk to the Datify people and I said, hey, listen, I was honest with them. I said, their Placer AI is scheduling appointments with me. What can you do for me that they can? Or what can you do for what do you offer the CVB that Placer doesn't? So she's set up a whole, our Datify, I don't know how you say it the right way, but she set up a whole presentation to give to me. And again, I know about it because of being on the board and we would get reports or whatever. I couldn't tell you right now if one is better than the other. I do think that it is important for us to have, whether it's Datify or Placer AI, some geofencing.
I agree. I think it is very valuable.
Yeah.
My point was, I thought Datify was really expensive.
Well, and that's another thing is Datify, we only paid partial because the state has some sort of a grant that they get and they pay
Oh,
some.
I didn't
And then
know.
Datify gives us a discount on top of like whatever the balance
Yeah.
is. So our cost is minimal compared to what we would be paying with Placer. I know that too, so.
I think it is important to have some kind of geofencing. I know that's, you know, that some people aren't familiar with that. I mean, I was very shocked because I had them do, Hildebrands.
Mhm.
And, you know, there's been over 100,000 visitors there over the last 4 years.
And it's not just counting how many visitors,
Yeah.
but they can capture where they're coming from.
Yes.
And so I
From
think,
out of town in the
Right,
county. Yeah.
right. and at first I was under the impression that like my personal cell phone is a California number. So I'm like, oh, well, they're reading California people here when I live here, but that's not the case. It's capturing, they know when it's a visitor versus when it's a long-term. I think anything over 4 days is considered not a visitor anymore, and then it resets or something to that effect. So yeah, there's more to it that I really do want to dig into more now that we're fully staffed. I think I'll have a little bit more time to dig into things like that, so.
All right, well, thank you. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
All right, thank you.
I know you were on vacation last week,
Yeah.
but when we have things like that, this, and we're gonna vote on, people like it to be in the packet.
Yes,
so
and I did,
try to get that
I did send it Thursday, but it was too late.
after the time.
Yes,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
She sent it pretty late.
I did,
No,
I did.
I know.
I
And she was on vacation.
I was on, different time zone, and I had it typed up, and it was just a matter of emailing it, so I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
and it's new, I mean, we're just starting that, but yeah, timelines are important.
Yeah, for sure. All right, thank you, guys.
Okay. Next, we have reappointment or possible reappointment of county appraiser. Crystal said she'd come over, so I'm sure she's watching.
Tammy, while we're waiting, I'm gonna forward you a email from Angela from the juvenile
already-
detention.
I already did it.
Okay, yeah, well, when I was looking through that last night, I saw that she had the wrong budget year in there, she had 2024 in there, so I told her she needed a different
Is it
budget.
really 2024 or was it just she didn't change her date?
It was really 2024.
Oh. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. I told her to send it to you, but she did send it to all of us, so.
Okay, thank you.
So, how do we proceed?
You guys were here, 2 of you were here the last time that he was reappointed. So was there a resolution, I think, to reappoint him?
Supposed to be.
Okay. I wasn't I wasn't, I was gonna say, I wasn't included last time because I had just recently started, so
So you just want an emotion?
that's all,
And it's 4 years, right?
Yes.
4-year appointment.
correct. And Vanessa did visit with him and he will be here this afternoon for his budget hearing.
It will.
Yes.
I'll make a motion for a reappointment of Travis Lilly as the appraiser. I think he's done an outstanding job. I think he uses initiative and common sense and all the things I think that you need to be successful in that position. And I think he's done a good job for the county. So I would move to reappoint Travis Lilly as the county appraiser.
I agree, he has done a great job. That is a hard job.
Yeah.
And he handles it well. I'll second that.
And he's got all these accreditations, I mean, like 100% compliance from the state. He's very good with public.
As I was gonna say, he's, a big part of that is public, is getting along with the public. I think he does a very good job of visiting with the public and helping them understand, the process. So,
So, have a motion and a second, all in favor of reappointment of Travis Lilly as county appraiser, say aye. Aye. And Betsy,
We're gonna get a resolution for you.
okay,
We can do it today, yeah. We're coming back to
okay.
Thank you.
Way back 11:45.
How are you guys doing?
Teresa, this printer, Louis, he still goes into offline mode. I'm trying to print something over there now. It says it's offline, so next time Trent is here, you might, I don't understand why it don't kick on when you might have to just.
Is it possible to approach the commissioners? Just hand you something? It's a letter of support for the Geary County Historical Society.
Okay.
Hot off the press.
Thank you.
Thank you for the interruption.
How you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good.
I just must have to wake him up every time I'm in here. Maybe that's what.
Well, yeah, and that could be some, because it sits there and doesn't get used, that
Yeah.
much, so it's gotta wake up.
I handed you that other one, right? That letter of support. from-
Yes.
Are we, should we do something?
Can I send it
It's usually just,
to Cal?
my nephew's on it, and then give it back to me.
Thank you.
Yeah, they had a lot of letters of support in their budget pack.
They also have $1 million in the bank.
I know. Discussion of warrants like that.
Did you?
Yeah.
Probably closer. How are you doing?
It's great, thank you. How are you?
Good. Are you here for, the blight,
Bikes?
or the noise?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good.
Is that at 11:30?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. We might start a little early if, GIS and the sheriff know.
Thank you.
Mhm.
We need to run a couple dates by you for this election, since we're gonna have a primary. Can I have Dana come in real quick and do that?
Get your notebook. Stuff hasn't printed, now it's printed.
I have this thing right here. I'm testing right now.
You know,
Be official.
yeah.
I need to say who I am.
Yes.
Okay. I'm Dana Micah, the election specialist in the clerk's office, and I am here to ask you guys if the canvas will work on August 18th at 9 a.m.
And that's a regular meeting day? but this is gonna be pretty small. I mean, this isn't gonna take very long,
Sure.
so that's why. we
So at
tried
9 o'clock, you said?
Starting at 9.
I'm good with that.
On August
18th.
18th.
The primary is August 5th. Yeah.
And then I asked to see if we can use the commission chambers July 29th and 30th for poll pad training.
Because the conference room will be used for advanced.
Oh, yeah.
Well timed.
Yeah. Looks good to me.
Okay. Sounds like a plan.
Okay,
Thank you.
you bet.
Yeah, so there looks like there's a handful of counties that have used the school buses. In addition, there's some counties that have like working codes in addition to. Stuff falls within those codes.
Right, yeah.
Mhm. Oh, we can do a nice resolution. I know if I I mean, it doesn't matter how we do it, it's just completely one hit to leave. Here's the logic.
Those recommendations, do they just execute that in the,
Yeah.
those are the same ones that we, I know Shirley's wasn't, but there's a bunch of already in, I know the budget.
In the survey?
No, in the budget.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I didn't know. It's been.
The Wakefield Museum doesn't get any tax money.
Hmm.
They're, never has, let alone.
Well, I don't know whether you keep these or not. Letters of support.
Oh, yeah, I usually do have,
Yeah, there are several already in there, but not those.
Do you have change orders and
There isn't any change orders
Right,
because,
minutes.
yeah, I've got the minutes here. We had, Carla from CIC here last Monday and Tuesday working on July abstract. So when we do that, everybody gets shut off. Can't do any changes until we're done. But I do have the minutes for the second. And Trish, back here where you added this, did I just forget to put that in there?
No, it was just, it said PM, something PM, so I
That
didn't.
was on Mr. Livingston's sheet of paper. I don't know what a PM is.
Oh,
What?
I didn't know if that was a mistake or not.
Lance Custer seeking a conditional use permit to allow storage facility on property zone Ag, generally located in the west half of section 34, township 11 south, range 5 east of the 6th PM.
Oh, Principal Meridian.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, yeah.
Wow.
I didn't know what it meant, so I was like,
I
that's why I
thought,
just put a question, because I'm like,
I
what
thought,
is
I
that
don't know what
supposed
this
to be?
is, but Troy said it, so, you know, whatever.
Well, of course, so it's so.
Well, you know, I kind of questioned some of things.
Well, you know. Okay. And then on Kate's, he wanted me to add something, attended the opening night for the brigade game.
And then that question mark, that was confusing.
Well, this is with Mr. Livingston too.
There we
Come
go.
on, really?
Well, as I was going along, it's like, I think this doesn't sound right, but what I'm trying to say is, y'all talked about this, Troy told you all this for approval, and after hearing the concerns of the neighborhood, the entrance and exit issues, parking on both sides of the street, EMS issues, placing a commercial business in a residential area, crime in an isolated area could increase, and the safety. So I put that first because then you guys moved to deny the request. I was trying to say why you
Okay.
denied it, and I do need to reword that first sentence, which I will. So beyond that, the second minute.
Do I hear a motion for approval?
Awesome. Second.
Then moving second to approve, the minutes from the second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
And then on the meeting for next week, the night meeting, I'll put the public comment at 6. Crystal at 6:15, and I think Tammy, she shouldn't be coming next week because she does every other week now unless she needs something. And then Trish said to put on there, CVB increase from, whatever it is, 6 to 7 or 7 to 8, whatever.
6 to 7.
So I could put that on 6:45. And Jeremy, I figured he'd come at 7. Is that okay with everybody?
I think we need to notify JC Post or whatever about the change in the meeting time. I did ask Crystal to put it on our
Well,
county
when I
page.
send out the
I put it
mass
on mine.
agenda, when I send it out to everybody and Dewey gets this, I said that, you know, that they were gonna have a meeting on the 16th, start at 6 o'clock, blah, blah, blah. And I thought something would come out, because that's why I did it, you know, a week or two early, and I didn't see anything, so
On the call calling.
call Dewey and, yeah. Oh, and I was gonna, because Charles Martinez is on there, I need to ask him if
He's right here.
oh, can you come next week to give your report at 7, or, well, it'll be later than that. In the evening, or do you need another day?
No, that works.
I'll let you know the time. I'll have to see how big Jeremy's report is. It probably will be 7:30.
Yeah, I can make it at any time.
Okay.
Was Nate coming back?
He said he was.
He said he was going to. Those Kalia people are there, so he
Oh,
said
that's
that,
right.
but he said he could make this for a little bit. I think, I don't know, Trish, did you talk to him too, or just?
Yeah, he said, because I asked him to bring, and if he had any data on any complaints that we
Oh,
had from
okay.
people. And it might not be accurate because since there's nothing to enforce, they might not have even pulled a case on it, so.
Did that lady from KDOT, because I went out to get my driver's license, did she say why she needed that?
Because she was notarizing our signatures. And you have to have an ID if you don't know the people.
Gotcha. You want to wait a little longer for
No,
Nate?
we can start.
Okay. Troy, do you want to give us an update?
Take the Inquisition chair.
Well, I can start for a little bit. I mean, basically,
That's fine. I don't
I
care.
called,
That's fine.
call, just so we know why we're here.
Sure.
So,
Sure.
I represent, at the Milford area and, there are several very nice, residential areas out there and, there's nothing to enforce blights or noise ordinance. And I feel, I understand you live out in the county, but, people should be able to live in peace and not have to look at junkyards all the time. And, and some of those are some of the highest paying tax people out there due to
Right,
their residents. And so, I feel I've gotten over the last 4 years numerous complaints about that, both off of Old Milford Road and as well as North Fork. So I've
Right.
asked us to look into looking at doing a special ordinance for blights and for noise, so.
And I think that's reasonable, especially if we're gonna do like a separate, resolution to cover it like that. I would hesitate to embed it in the zoning regulations,
Sure.
right? But, after discussions, just some brief discussions with counselor, there are a handful of counties that have done that very same thing. Individual resolutions that deal with, especially noise. But blights, I will say this, that if you're gonna do something like that, there is, an international property maintenance code, like building codes, whatnot, that the city has adopted that can regulate grass height to just whatever, missing shingles, dilapidated buildings, I mean, a whole host of things. So we can look into something like that. But, yeah, I think it's doable, for sure. It's gonna take a little bit of wordsmithing probably to get it like we want it.
Sure.
But, and then it just comes down to, how it's gonna get enforced.
Yeah.
Where exactly is this? What part of Milford? Just Old Milford Road and then?
Well, those, just the different, like, off of Yonkin and,
Yeah,
North
most of the
Fork
whole
and-
Rockwood area and North Fork, those are $400,000 and $500,000 homes.
Yeah, and, Country Meadows,
Yeah,
you know,
right.
that neighborhood.
Mhm.
And
You know,
there's just been more people moving in that area than using it for,
Well, we've got a handful of
Dirt
people that
bike
live out
riding and
there
stuff.
that
Well,
are
some
just
people are,
not
yeah.
real big on maintaining their property, you know, like the general aesthetic of the neighborhood would dictate. You know, they have a tendency to pile up stuff in their yard. I mean, not like old junk cars, but sometimes a lot of tagged cars that are probably more than they need. They'll park campers in their side yards and just stuff like that. And then they don't weed eat around it. And then they let the weeds grow up around the front of the house and just.
Well, we had an animal issue too, out in Country Meadows quite a while back.
Yeah, we had somebody that was raising pigs out there. Called them emotional sport animals.
well, the house right outside of Country Meadows, there, right by the north of the,
Right.
they've got,
Yeah, they've got
Is that-
goats and
yeah,
they've got a whole host of things. So they're kind of unique because they don't fall in that subdivision, and our zoning regulations say if you got 3 acres or more, you can have animals just like you would if you're ag. They have 3 acres exactly. So, yeah.
so
They
this
squeeze.
obviously is becoming more of a problem. They've existed
Well,
out there for
right.
years, but
We
now
get a lot of people
they're just
now
getting
that
different.
are buying these types of homes, you know, they'll move in, that's got maybe 2.5 to 3 acre lots, you know, nice big residential type lots. But they want to keep goats, they want to keep chickens, they want to feel like they're on a farm, but they're really not. So, and then the neighbors start to complain because of the noise and the smell sometimes, so. It just comes down to, if you want to live in the county, live in the county, but if you want to live in the city, live in the city. You can't have the best of both worlds, I don't think. I mean, we can do some to mitigate those differences, but you're never gonna make everybody happy.
no, you're not, but I feel, you know, the noise and the really bad blights, I feel we should have something.
I agree. I mean, I wouldn't want to live next to it.
No, and I mean, even Laurel Canyon's another example on the other side of the lake. I mean, there's
Yeah.
one house there that is absolutely trashed and everybody else's
Yeah.
house looks nice. And I mean, it's
It's been an annual and perpetual.
exactly. And the
form.
only thing we've been able to do there is do anything with the health department and,
Right.
you know, the health safety, ordinances or
Yeah, it's
regulations.
like a public health nuisance.
Whereas, I mean, he's got boats, the house, there isn't even, the house is not even livable. I mean,
No, it's not.
and-
You know, and there's, because of that and the lack of maintenance and the overall neglect of that property, possums and raccoons and stuff have moved the interior and turned it into a giant latrine,
Yeah,
basically.
I mean, it's,
So, yeah,
and it's disgusting out there.
it is. Well, I mean, it is a significant health hazard.
Yeah.
So,
And so, you know, I just feel like, you know, as a representative of those areas, and I've had people reach out, I feel we need to do our due diligence and see what we can do to protect them.
I would love nothing more than to be able to pull the trigger on those kinds of proproperties and get them cleaned up once and for all.
Yeah, and I think the neighbors would appreciate that.
Oh, I'm sure they would.
Well, and I had somebody contact me, and it's out in my area, on Nelson Road,
Mhm.
and it's a noise issue.
Oh, really?
So if it's ag related or industrial related with a permissible use, we don't get to, like,
Right.
those are gonna always be exempt.
Correct.
If it's ag or industrial that is permitted.
Yeah, so if somebody's using their swather or whatever you call that equipment.
Right. I mean, that's
I
the,
mean,
that's
you're gonna
the
have-
general nature
and
of the
those are-
ag.
exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And that's, again, that's where I say, you know, people want to live in the county because they want to feel like they've got a little bit of a farm, but they still want all the amenities of living in the city, and they want that noise abatement to go along with it. Sometimes you just can't get that. But I can certainly see where if you're in a residential platted subdivision like Country Meadows or North Fork, that area up around Rockwood and all through there, yeah, there certainly should be some.
Well, in a lot of these neighborhoods that are platted, you know, there are kind of defunct HOAs that could
Right.
address some of these issues.
There are covenants in place
And
that, although they remain enforceable in perpetuity, as I've been told, it takes a majority of the homeowners to do that. And they
some
don't
people
want to,
don't want to be involved.
well, and they don't want to put up the expense of hiring an attorney to
Yes.
get it taken care of, which I understand. And I always tell everybody when they call and say, hey, what's in our covenants? I'm like, well, our zoning regulations are the minimum standards and we can't enforce your covenants.
I know.
Right? So but if we do something like that, if we do like a blight and a noise resolution, that would go a long way, I think, to alleviate a lot of these problems.
So we talked about some other counties that went to the legislature to get.
Mhm.
this.
So Riley County and Crawford County are the two most recent, most notable, and I'm gonna have to take my glasses off so I can actually read this. So that, it's Senate Bill 384, and it creates the Riley County Unincorporated Area Nuisance Abatement Act and Crawford County basically as well. What that does is it gives the counties, I'll just read it verbatim. The bill requires the county to have obtained a conviction for a county code violation resulting from a nuisance within the prior 12 months before any abatement process can begin. So what that bill does is give the county some recourse. If the landowner refuses to clean it up, the county can go do it and charge the landowner, right? But it has to be on the books, a conviction within the previous 12 months. So now there are Crawford County, for example, they've got an entire overarching set of codes right for the county, which I'm not sure we really need to do that, but, and that's in addition to their zoning regulations and their floodplain regulations and all the other stuff.
Well, I would definitely like, especially, in the platted areas that are neighborhoods.
Right.
To look into that. And then, I invited the sheriff here because I do feel, and I know he's busy today, I totally get it, but I feel when it comes to noise ordinance, I feel that we should have their input in that because, and I told him this the other day, he was like, Trish, I don't make the resolution. I said, I understand that, but, I feel if we did this, you might have some, input on, well, maybe we should do this.
Well, sure, because ultimately they're gonna be the ones that,
Enforcing
especially the noise
yeah,
ordinance, are gonna have to
yes,
enforce it, so.
Yes. So they definitely need to be involved in
I could roll up there in my pickup, but that's not gonna do a whole lot.
Yeah.
Sheriff's officer can be a little bit different.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Would this address that issue we've had for years up on J Hill?
It can, yes. For sure. So, there's a handful of properties out in the county that are not just in, platted subdivisions, like we're talking about, that have kind of pushed the envelope and, for whatever reason, they've just been kicked down the street basically until somebody really wants to do something about it. And like I said, there's a couple for sure that I would love nothing more than to have it taken care of and put it to bed once and for all.
So would the neighbors.
Yeah.
I'm sure, and if nothing else, it would alleviate some problems in my office because the neighbors are getting tired of it. And I do the best I can to explain to them how our hands are tied and why we can't go any further than what we have. And for the most part, they understand, but yeah, it would be nice.
Well, I think as the commission representing those residents, that I think there's something we need to do to.
Everybody deserves a
untie your
quality of
hands.
life, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely.
Exactly.
No, I certainly don't have a problem with that, and I would welcome that. So, it's just a matter of how Sheriff Beckman wants to deal with this.
Perfect timing.
So I don't know, and I know I'd asked you to, about the, any of the calls and stuff, and you might not even have them, because if there's nothing to enforce, they might not have even pulled a case.
I
So,
have brought some stats with me. There's not a lot of calls for service out there, but there are.
well, and the part you just missed about, giving some teeth into giving your deputies as well as zoning, with the blight and the noise, to help alleviate some of the problems that we've had in some of these neighborhoods. And I know you don't write resolutions, but we would like you involved in it, just
That's
because.
why I'm here.
I know, and just because, you're the one that's gonna be, you and your guys are gonna be, and gals are gonna be enforcing that, so definitely, would want your input on that, so.
You're welcome to have the podium if you'd like.
I'll come join you up there, and
Oh, that'd be
I don't want to keep you out of your podium. I'll sit next to you.
You're more than welcome to have the podium if you'd like, but.
Well, and I know there's a couple of people here, I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but if any of the residents that would be affected by this, and that's why they come, would like to speak, is that all right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If anybody would like to speak.
I'll speak to it.
So my name is Chris McConnell. I live at 7610 Rockwood Drive, and I can speak specifically to the issues we've had with noise ordinance or a lack thereof. So first, I'd like to caveat with, I grew up in Colorado in neighborhoods that had insanely restrictive HOAs to the point of you could only have a split rail fence, no taller than 36 inches, spaced specifically to 6 feet of vertical posts, and down to the specific color hue of paint you could use on your house. Yeah, so I don't want to go to that. I didn't like it when I was a kid. I didn't like it when I lived in Texas. Don't want to see it here either. But we have a significant noise problem on the north end of Rockwood and Yukon, where some folks who've moved in there feel it is their right to do motocross in their backyard all the way through the evening hours, well into the early morning. We've contacted the sheriff's office on a number of occasions when they're out there yelling and driving their BMX, or not BMX, but motocross bikes at 3 in the morning. So during weeknights. So what I would say is that we don't need a heavily restricted noise ordinance, but we do need something probably that kicks in after dark. As I understand, people want to use their property as they want during the day, and I have a problem with that. My wife would probably disagree. But by and large, I think after dark is a reasonable time for those activities to cut back.
Yeah, 3 o'clock in the morning is a little ridiculous.
It was a couple nights in a row. So to the point where the deputies were calling the sheriff's office and they're like, we can literally do nothing.
Yeah, they have no, and that, yeah, that's what I want to.
So they came out and did contact a couple of times. And as soon as they drove away, the fined individuals over there were yelling at the top of their lungs that they beat the sheriff's department, and there was nothing that the neighbors could do to stop it. So, and then as a point, both of the houses that neighbor that house are in the process of selling their homes to go away. So, and that house also, I would say, I don't really have a dog in the fight for the blight situation. We don't have a big problem with that on that end of Rockwood, not that I'm aware of anyway. But that house in particular probably has 7 vehicles parked in the front yard. So it's significant. So
That's a pet peeve of mine.
yeah, I can't put a shed, or I can't build a garage in front of the front line of my house. They have a half a dozen cars parked in their front yard. So
Well, I appreciate you coming in. I know it's been something you guys have been fighting with, so.
it is what it is. So it's
hopefully.
like I said, some folks, they bought the big houses because they wanted to live in a big neighborhood or, with larger lots. And some people bought their 1 1/4 acre lot and thought they were moving to the middle of the
Quiet
country.
country.
So it's a conflict that's inherent to residential areas. So I appreciate being given the time to speak.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. Sir, do you have anything? Back there and back?
Sir?
Do you have anything you'd like to add?
Okay,
I'm just observing.
okay,
It's okay.
all right. Well, where do we go from here?
Yeah, that's gonna be my question. What do we do?
Well, yeah, I think we can just take an initial stab at it,
So we want to
especially,
do blight, we want to try to do some sort of blight and noise.
Yes, I would like to do both.
okay,
I mean, we can do them separately and then.
Right.
Talk
We
about,
want to
yeah,
address both issues.
yeah, I would like that.
that's doable. I can go through that property maintenance code and see if I can pull out some specific things about blight. I will mention that Senate Bill 384 that Riley County and Crawford County got, whatever violation someone may have committed in terms of their county codes, it did specify that it had to be a menace and dangerous to the health of the inhabitants of the county. So I don't think that would be too much of a stretch, really, for a lot of these that we have. Certainly poses a health risk to anybody around there, so I don't think that's completely out of line. Kind of goes hand in hand with our sanitary code, but I think we can do it. So I guess we could just take an initial stab, certainly with the noise. I've read enough noise ordinances and resolutions. I think we could put together a pretty comprehensive one that should make sense. So,
How do they do it in Riley County, Nate? Is it separate? Like,
The resolution towards the city ordinance or?
yeah, like, I know they probably have a city ordinance for the city for
The city's
noise.
very much more minimal, it's 50 feet, it's just that simple.
Yeah, I know, but how do they do it in the county? That's what I'm asking. Do you know?
I'm
Or do you
not-
remember? I know you
I
didn't work
don't
there.
remember on the
Yeah.
resolution for the county, but
Sure.
I would agree with Mr. O'Connell. I think it needs to be, I mean, sunset might be a little too much during winter time, but it needs to probably be a time frame is generally how that
Yes.
works out.
that's,
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
So-
3 o'clock in the morning is ridiculous.
I think 9 is to whatever. I mean, just we gotta brainstorm and
Sure.
come up with a time frame. I think that's reasonable to shut it down by that time.
Mhm. All right. Did you have anything, the statute?
I had some stats for the last, from 2021 up till the current year, which obviously the current year we're not over. But we were averaging right around probably 5, if I had to throw average out per year of the entire county, just in noise complaints in general, 5. Now, we did have in 2021, 5 complaints just about the dirt bikes. Nothing too much recently. I don't know if that's because they're not getting documented or the citizens just gave up because
Yeah, I
can't do
know.
much.
Yeah, in both in North Fork and in off of Youngkin, that's where I've received just recently, both were over the bikes.
All we can do when we go out there, we try to, I guess, negotiate and explain why it's a problem. If they don't listen, they don't listen.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, well, I appreciate that.
All right. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you guys.
Thanks for squeezing us in, Sharon.
I'm sorry, a little late.
No, you're fine.
Charles, how you doing? I'm here. So Troy put that back together, or, because I'm just gonna tell him that you just sent something to us, so.
Right, we'll probably work on it together. I mean, he's probably gonna do some of his, the zoning parts and then I'll write it.
The sheriff.
Yeah. That was the resolution for the county appraisers.
Oh, the agreement, okay.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we're gonna reappoint him.
So our next thing, would you like a motion to go into executive session for non-elected personnel with the health department director and HR?
Yes.
So moved for 10 minutes.
That should be. Okay, you want a second?
Oh, yes. I'll second it.
Then moving, second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That's to include council.
Council also.
Non-elected personnel.